Are you tired of being told to come out of your shell? Do you feel like society values extroverted traits over your own unique strengths as an introvert? It's time to reclaim your power and embrace the quiet revolution. In this video, we're celebrating all the amazing qualities introverts bring to the table, as we show the world that being introverted isn't a weakness, it's a superpower. So join us and discover why introversion is something to be proud of. So first off, I'm an introvert, which makes this video very personal for me, as well as instructive and uplifting. You'll understand better as we get into it. Also, there's a segment that discusses being the mother of an introvert. As I look back, being a teen introvert would have been easier, had my mum interacted with me based upon my introvert personality, instead of according to the more outgoing personalities of my siblings. But she didn't really know any better. She thought I was shy, and just needed coaxing to get out of my shell, instead of thinking that my supposed shyness was really my introverted personality. So I reach out to you parents, who are raising introverted children, and implore you to not label them as shy, because in reality they may not be, as the word shy or shyness is defined. They may simply be introverted, which isn't something to be worked out of your child, or a shell they need to get out of. It's rather their personality, which needs to be embraced and nurtured. So let's begin, first with what an introvert is. Simply put, an introvert is someone who prefers their own company to that of a group. Now don't get me wrong, an introvert isn't a loner, though it may sound the same. Here, let me use myself as an example. I personally prefer to spend time alone, which means I spend limited time with a group or a crowd. Not because I don't like people, rather, people quickly wear me out. We introverts can become mentally drained after extended social interactions. Understand, we love attending social events that interests us, the company of certain people, and most of us have a small group of friends we enjoy being with on a regular basis. A loner is quite different. This person purposely avoids social interaction, often for long periods of time, and typically when they do engage with the outside world, they're usually doing it alone. See the difference? Hear me, and I may repeat myself again later, there's nothing inherently wrong with being an introvert or a loner. Like an extrovert or any other personality type, these are simply ways in which people deal with others and the outside world. So, to continue, introverts frequently prefer to spend time alone or with one or two close friends, rather than in a large group or crowd. That's me. We introverts can be more reserved or quieter than extroverts, as we have a tendency to be more introspective, reflective, and cautious. Having said all that, do remember that we're all different, with our own personalities, so not all introverts display the same introvert traits or behaviors. Speaking of traits, let's look at what characteristics are typically common for introverts. Remember, we're all different with different personalities, cultures, ethnicities, and environments that feed into our personalities, so not all introverts will display all, or the same introvert traits. Okay. Good. So for one, and this is a biggie for introverts like me, and that's, we prefer our solitude. We enjoy spending time either alone or in quiet, low-stimulation environments. For me it's the local library or panoras. We use this time to chill, recharge, and many of us read or journal our thoughts and feelings. Again, we introverts can really get drained, dealing with people. We enjoy socializing, but we can get tired or overwhelmed after spending long periods of time in social situations. And the situation itself doesn't matter. Parties in the conference room at work, or a family barbecue or reunion, places where I know everyone, it makes no difference. After a while, you're going to look around and see that I've slipped away. Needing a break. Having said that, the other side to that is that introverts have a tendency to be independent. We're comfortable spending alone time, and as such, we can be more self-sufficient than extroverts who are typically in the center of a party. Makes sense, right? And speaking of needing breaks, let me add this. I've learned that I tend to be more sensitive to stimulus, which is an introvert trait. Loud noises, monotonous continuing type sounds, like that weekly emergency broadcast system test. You know the one, I either have to cover my ears or snatch up the remote and silence it. Needless to say, I have to leave the kitchen when my sister is baking, because I can't tolerate the sound of her professional blender. Then there's bright lights, flickering lights, or other external stimulation. Fortunately, I've always worked somewhere where I could independently control the light in my work cube, and I have dimmed lights at home, especially my bedroom. Next, and folks have a tendency to find this as a big plus, and that's, we introverts can be great listeners. We have a tendency to listen and observe, more than we speak, and as a result, we can hear between the words, see between the lines, and potentially pick up on nuances and details that others, in the same setting, can miss. Truth be told, we love listening and observing, preferring this to speaking. Why? Because we'd rather not be the center of attention. Surely we say what's on our mind, or input our feelings on a matter, but we're typically not long talkers. I have to chuckle because my sister may beg to differ. But I'm a storyteller, so I tend to give folks the long version of everything. Next, we have a tendency to be a bit reserved. Meaning, we have a tendency to sit back, not in a rush to share personal information, or our emotions, with others. We can naturally be cautious in social situations, I know I am. Which unfortunately can be misunderstood as being unfriendly, cool towards people, or sadly, stuck up or unapproachable. Then, introverts are considered to be deep thinkers, basically because we have a tendency to spend a lot of time doing just that, thinking. Thinking about our thoughts and feelings, and tons of other things. This can result in us being philosophical, or introspective, and having a head filled with facts, figures, and details most people are surprised to hear coming out of our mouths. They enjoy quizzing us, or having us on their teams when playing certain mental games. My kid sister teases me because of my love of all things NASA and space. I even have a NASA t-shirt. And yes, I keep up with NASA and SpaceX launches. But I digress. Because we think deeply, we have a tendency to care deeply as well. Being all in, concerning issues or problems that grab our attention. As introverts, we can be great at problem solving, using our listening skills as well as all the other characteristics that makes us, to come up with solutions to difficult or tricky issues or problems. Next, introverts are considered to be more creative, drawn to pursuits such as writing, that's me, art, music or similar activities. Many of us find that solitude, reflection, and deep thinking helps to fuel our creativity. One of the ways that makes us feel relevant and alive. Then introverts are considered to be loyal, dependable friends. Our circles are typically small and close-knit, and those in our sphere know we're faithful, trustworthy and devoted friends. We're typically calm and composed in stressful situations, which can help us to think clearly under pressure. We're often considered stable and tough to rattle, which makes us the go-to person when someone has a problem that needs to be delved into and talked out in search of a solution. Now, let's take a break and look at well-known people and celebs who have shared their introverts. I googled, and here who makes the list. There's Lady Gaga, who said in interviews that she's an introvert. She looks and acts anything but, right? How about actress Emma Watson, or actor Keanu Reeves? There's Selena Gomez, and even Kim Kardashian. Then there's the likes of Elon Musk, who said in many interviews that he's an introvert and has a tendency to spend a lot of time thinking and working on his own. I have to smile at that because it sounds so familiar. So in one long sentence, what are our challenges, being introverts? We can struggle with making small talk in social situations, or when having to make connections with new people. We can be misunderstood as being aloof or unfriendly. We can easily feel excluded or left out in certain situations. We can struggle with public speaking in front of large groups, or when having to present our thoughts or ideas in a public scenario. We're easily overlooked for leadership roles, or other positions of authority. We can be a bit more sensitive to criticism or negative talk, and can take it more to heart than others. We can struggle with networking and making professional connections, which can be important for career advancement. Okay, so even though what I've stated can be challenges for us introverts, we can still develop strategies for navigating through them and turning them into a superpower strength. No one the wiser. Now, what if you're a mum and your daughter is an introvert? First off, understand you may have to parent her in a slightly different manner than you do with your extroverted daughters. Top of the list, at least for me, and that's, don't push your child to be more social. For me it had the opposite effect, and that was I became more withdrawn and felt a bit isolated in the home because my parents didn't get me, right? Granted, it's important for kids to have social skills and social connections, but you should balance that with their temperament and their comfort level. Perhaps instead of pushing them to be more social, how about encouraging them in developing close, strong relationships with a few close friends? I had the same 3 close friends, all through middle school and high school, and they were more than enough for me. Then next, respect her need for alone time. I can tell you that as a youth I needed more alone time than my extroverted sibs. A household with 5 kids can get to be a bit much, especially when one of them is an introvert who needs periods of quiet and solitude. If this is your child, give her the space she needs. Don't push her to play with her sibs or be constantly in their presence. Next, you want to encourage their interests and hobbies. Regardless of how things may appear to you on the outside, your introverted child can often have rich inner lives. Their daydreams, hopes, imaginations can be bright, alive, and animated, all of which can be expressed through things like writing, art, and music. Your child can further be into collecting things, playing videos, photography, doodling, stargazing, puzzles, diamond art, and the like. Even if you don't understand their interests, you need to learn. You want to encourage them. Ask them questions, get interested. See them. Connect with them. Provide opportunities for them to explore and develop their passions, and find ways to get involved in it with them. I can honestly share that it's tough watching your mum attend events for their other children but not for you because it's not some organized sport or school activity with an official group. You may be saying, but my daughter collects buttons. And what I'm going to ask, is she a member of the National Button Society? Yes, it's a real thing. Tons of things are real things, just Google and see if your child's interest is there. Listen, what we're advising here is to look for opportunities to give your child an outlet for their interest, hobby, or passion. Encourage them in their creative expression, and look for ways to personally get involved and connect with her in that space. You mean play video games with her? Definitely. And does she compete as a gamer? Do you attend? Then you want to nurture and encourage their independence, regardless of how much you may want to do the opposite. We get that perhaps you view her introvertness as her being a loner, and you don't want to encourage that. Understand, dears, introverted children can be more self-sufficient and independent than their extroverted siblings. Just think a moment. Do you have to track her every movement or oversee them as much as their siblings? Do you have to give her the 3rd degree when she leaves the home the way you may be doing with her extroverted sisters? Why do you think that is? Listen, dear, we're simply saying encourage their independence and self-sufficiency, while still providing support, oversight, and guidance as a parent. And again, there's this. A real biggie for me, and that's being labeled as being shy. While we introverted kids can appear shy, please don't label your daughter as such. Number 1, it drove me crazy, so it probably does the same for her, because we don't see it as a positive label. And number 2, it became a self-fulfilling prophecy for a while, smashing my self-esteem and confidence right to the floor. You might say you got through it, and my response would be, sure I did, the alcohol helped a lot, it brought me right out of my shell. Get my point? Remember, all your children are individual and unique, and as a result this can require different approaches to parenting. By understanding and respecting your introverted child's nature, you can create a healthy and nurturing environment that allows them to be safely themselves, to thrive, and reach their full potential. Now what about this? What if you're an introverted parent, with an extroverted child? Parenting an extroverted daughter when you're an introvert can be challenging, but there are things you can do, mum, to ensure you're creating a strong and healthy relationship with your daughter. Here are some tips. First, the both of you need to accept one another's differences. Be honest and upfront with your child concerning your personality. Although you might require more alone time and space than your daughter does, this doesn't preclude you from enjoying time spent together doing activities you both enjoy. On the heels of that, you want to discover shared interests. Even if you and your daughter have different tastes and passions, there may be hobbies and activities that you may both enjoy. Find that common ground and intentionally make time to do things you both like to do, together. Then you want to acknowledge your daughter's desire for social interactions. Even though you might not get her need for all this company, seemingly all the time. I've chuckled at friends whose daughter has come home from an outing and 5 minutes later she's on the phone with the person she just spent the last 3 hours hanging around with. As an introvert, I surely don't get it, but I accept the fact the girl needs more social contact with her friends and others than her mum, because she's an extrovert. Listen, dear, you simply want to respect your daughter's personal bent and her need for social interaction, and work out opportunities for her to mingle with friends and classmates as often as she feels the need. On the flip side, you want to make sure your extroverted daughter understands that your introverted nature may have a top-off level, and that you can handle only so much socializing or crowded activity at any given time. The point is for you and your daughter to openly communicate with one another and find a balance for your shared environment that works for you both. Then you want to get help raising your extroverted daughter. Get her extroverted aunties or godmom involved. They can attend activities where you can't. A village raising a child, right? Also, you can talk to your sisters or besties concerning ways to boost your introverted nature, to better parent your child. Remember, every parent-child relationship is unique and may require different approaches. By being open and forthcoming with your daughter, respecting each other's needs and differences, and finding common ground, you can create a strong and healthy relationship that allows both of you to thrive. Remember, being an introvert isn't something to be ashamed of, so the next time you're feeling a bit low because you prefer to be on the outer edges, instead of the center of attention, embrace your introvertism, nurture your relationships, and continue to grow and thrive in your own quiet way. Thanks for watching. Until next time.